So you polished your boots.
His name's Will Sargent. My name is Bill Drummond. We're the Williams. This is the second act to a play called The Williams. The first act happened July 22, I think. And this is the second act. If he gets a third book done, I hope there'll be a third act to this play.
Yeah, definitely.
If anybody's ever recording this, I haven't asked anybody to record it, but if they do record it, then if they can type up that thing, so then that can be the play for the future, because I got the first one recorded, so in 300 years' time, people can be doing this as a play.
Why not?
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. The first act of the play, for those that didn't go there, was called The Electric Guitar, where I asked Will 4 questions and everything evolved around that. Now, I didn't know what the second act of the play was going to be about until this morning, until Will and I spoke, and we spoke about ironing this morning. And then I realized what the second act should be about. It should be household chores. Okay? So Will doesn't know anything about this so far. I mean, I've read the book. Hopefully you'll all read the book, so there's no point in me asking you about stuff in the book.
I don't know, you could a little bit, maybe, what the ironing situation was in the book.
There's stuff in the book that I'm going to get to, don't worry.
Okay. How to wash camo pants.
It's in that area, but I'm going to get to that later. That's the first question is to do with household. Can you remember the first household chore that you had to do?
Yeah.
Okay, go on.
Brasso. They're both brasso, and I used to polish. We had one of them, them sorts of plaques that you had on the wall that looked like a ship. And I used to spend ages polishing it. I loved polishing it and made it dead shiny, really shiny. And then I started doing pennies, and I used to, the big pennies, the old ones, and make them really, really like glowing, like
okay,
they were like.
Okay. Did you collect them?
No, I spent them.
Okay, I collected pennies, and I had to get all the ones.
Yeah, like Spotify.
Pardon?
Like Spotify.
What's Spotify?
Oh, Spotify. They collect pennies, don't they? Give them farthings to the artists.
We don't need to go into the bitter side of things here, Will.
Okay.
No, I collected them with the dates, and then you get a low tag 1980. Did anybody else collect pennies here with the different? Okay, somebody else. Okay.
Yeah.
And I polished them, and then somebody told me, you mustn't polish them.
No, you got to, no.
And that wears it away, and it was...
Yeah. Well, it's like I've got a guitar at home, and it's a Martin electric guitar, and it's wrecked, all the varnish is coming off, and it's all a bit tatty. And I was thinking about painting it, and they were all outraged. It's a dead rare guitar, and they only made them in 1968.
And you've taken off all those years of...
I haven't painted it, but it looks shit, like, all the stuff's coming off.
Fuck, I'm just paint it.
Yeah, I might do.
Okay, so Brasso, but did you have silver as well? Because we had the two tins, the silver tin and the Brasso tin.
Oh yeah. What was the silver one called?
It was called Silvo.
It was called what?
Silvo, wasn't
Silvo. Yeah. Well, that was a liquid. That wasn't a liquid. That was like a sort of cotton wool kind of deal.
No, they both had the same tin with the blue and white, didn't they?
Yeah.
Radiating.
Oh, we didn't have that one. We only ever got to copper.
So what?
Well, copper and brass. We never got to silver.
Well, you didn't have Goldo.
No, that was the posh houses in the next street, wasn't it?
Okay. So you didn't ever brush the stairs?
Yeah, we brushed the stairs, but
I love brushing stairs.
little brush in the
Yeah, a little brush in the pan, and you clicked it up, and you really felt, when you got to the bottom, I used to feel really rewarded.
I wasn't that obsessed by it. I did it, you know, I've done it, but ironing was my thing.
Okay, we're getting to the, as I said, we were talking about ironing this morning, and obviously this is a thing that Will and I bond over, and I was actually wanting to propose to Will that we go into business as ironers, ironing.
Yeah.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where do I sign?
You what?
Where do I sign?
It's a 50-50 split.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Now ironing. Like he mentioned. How the fuck did this conversation start up about ironing?
I was doing my ironing and you phoned me up and said, why didn't you answer the phone or something? I said I was doing my ironing.
Okay.
I was in the hotel ironing. But you know that the weird stuff that comes out these hotel irons, they haven't got the same service, because they're left for ages on, and they get like this white stuff when you hit the steam thing. A load of white stuff comes out. It was all over my shirt. I came off, but you know.
This shirt is this on?
Yeah, this is part of my underwear.
You see. And as soon as Will mentioned this, I was riven with jealousy because I stopped ironing 20 odd years ago, and I don't even own an iron, and I don't own an ironing board. And I thought, should I make an ironing board? And then I thought, if Will and I, the Williams, ironing for you, went into business, maybe we should have our own branded ironing boards.
Yeah, could do. Yeah, definitely. And sort of make them into surfboards as well. Or skateboards.
Skateboards?
Yeah.
Do you do skateboarding?
I have done in the past, yeah.
Okay. So, as I said, it kind of triggered off thoughts of household chores, and that sense of satisfaction of having a basket of the stuff that's dried, you've washed and dried but hasn't been ironed yet. So do you still do the ironing?
No, I do it as, when I need something. I don't do shitloads of stuff. If I need a shirt and going somewhere, I'll get me to do that. That's it.
Okay.
I don't do loads and I'm not nuts. Like just ironing for the sake of it. I only iron for a purpose. For a sharp shirt.
I thought the point of ironing was okay.
Well, I used to like the smell.
See, that's what you're telling me.
Yeah.
That's why I felt we were bonding over something.
Yeah. I just like that smell. When there was a shop in Liverpool called Fleming's, and they sold jeans, and every type of jean. They had like drain pipes, flares, Oxford bags, parallels, and then they had jean jackets as well. But the shop, used to go to the shop, and the smell was great. It was like this weird, steamy, soapy smell. And every time you ironed your Fleming's, the smell would hit you again, and you'd be right back in that shop. It's not there anymore, but it was. Everybody in Liverpool bought these Fleming's jeans.
Fleming's, they were the UK, the English, the British equivalent, weren't they? Or
well, in Liverpool, I don't know whether how far they reached, but everywhere else was Wranglers and Levi's, wasn't it?
Yeah. I'd never heard of Fleming's until I got to Liverpool.
Yeah.
Has anybody here heard of Fleming's?
No.
Yeah, look, there you go.
Geordie jeans.
Yeah. And there was one in Birkenhead called Skinner's.
What, a rival one across the water?
Yeah, and they had really wide, super wide, like Oxford bag kind of, northern soul kicks, that sort of thing.
Can you send me their address?
And white ones. It's not there anymore. But you've got your own supplier.
I know, but I've got I've not got a wide enough iron.
Okay, I'm going to do a bit more on the household chores now, because I know it's because I've got issues. So washing up. How do you feel about washing up?
I hate it.
You fucking hate washing up?
It's never ending in our house. I'll get the kitchen all straight and I'll be happy and everything's away and it looks nice as it can, because our kitchen's a mess. And then 5 minutes later I'll come out and they just stick the dishes in the sink. Pisses me right off.
See, I got talked into having a washing machine, a dishwasher.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing. We've got one, and they just stick them in the sink. Don't stick them in the dishwasher.
Yeah, well, my partner, who's not here this evening, so I can say this, she said, no, it's better for the planet if we have a dishwasher. And I felt like she was just trying to take away my love of washing up.
Christ.
So you're my therapist here. What should I do about this?
Oh, God, I don't know. I have a secret sink in a shed somewhere. And then, like, when there's a dirty dish appears on the table, put it in a little bag, ferret it out there, and then, like, wash them up out there on the sly, and then just sort of bring them back in.
I'm gonna do, because what I do is I come down early in the morning or late at night, and I take things out the dishwasher to wash them when I'm not being seen, and then put them in, dry them with a dishcloth and put them in. But I'm going to take you up on that. I'm going to have a shed somewhere that I go.
This is. How did you manage us? Because like we are we were like the worst people for like leaving dishes everywhere and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I just thought, well, you'll get there. You'll get there in the end. You'll learn to wash the dishes.
Well, yeah, you've got to wash them, haven't you? Because they go. Well, I remember Mac's flat. He had a stack of dishes. When that one in Prospect Vale.
Of course I do. Yeah.
Not Prospect Vale. What was it called? Belmont Road. And he had this stack of dishes in his sink, and it was total with nail and eye job. It was all mouldy, and I remember going around there to Paul Ellerbeck in his flat. It was horrible.
Okay, we're supposed to be talking about your new book, and you've taken me off on different tangents here. Now, one of the things in the book that I hope you're all going to read, the follow-up to the brilliant Bunnymen Bunnyman,
yeah.
Is you mentioned a tweed jacket in it, that you bought a tweed jacket. Now, do you want to tell them about the tweed jacket?
Well, everybody was buying tweed jackets and Harris tweed,
Yeah.
And they were super itchy, really hot, and we all wore them in Australia.
and they've got they got the tweed.
They have the little label
inside. Yeah,
it's great.
Now, but what
you can pick them up for like buttons in them days. Now they're like, kind of gold dust, aren't they?
But what you mentioned is that you'd never been to a dry cleaners before, and you didn't know. So what did you do with this tweed jacket?
Well, I just wore it. I didn't clean it.
You never washed it?
You can't wash them, can you?
No, you can't. I was just checking this out, because if you wash them, they shrink.
Oh yeah, you can't wash a tweed jacket. Come on, Bill.
But you never went to the dry cleaners with it?
I'd never heard of a dry cleaners when I had one. I didn't know what it was.
You see, I love dry cleaners, and I never get a chance. For me, dry cleaners are this kind of magical place. I'm thinking, how the fuck does this work? How can they clean them and it's dry? So I would take clothes that didn't even need cleaning to the dry cleaners, and just because I wanted to imagine this magic stuff going on behind.
Yeah, but it isn't dry though, is it?
Isn't it?
No, it's a liquid, but it evaporates.
I was just conned.
Yeah, so it sort of goes away, whatever, some sort of weird liquid.
Okay.
Yeah. That's right.
So I'm going to get. This is me easing my way into the book, but from the Harris tweed jacket.
Yeah. But when they got wet, they stank as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's like they'd never washed the sheep. It's like suddenly you could smell the sheep again.
Yeah.
It's like you're out there on the Outer Hebrides.
I remember you getting it when we went to Harris, I think it was.
Yeah.
You bought a great big ream of tweed from like a shop and brought it back, and you got it made into a suit, didn't you?
No, just trousers.
Or was it?
I had the trouser turn-ups and everything.
Yeah.
Buttons.
Where did you get the suit? Where did you get that made? 'Cause I remember you had one made in Dublin as well, didn't you? Remember that place?
Yeah, I went over there with Bill Butt to get the suits made. Yeah. But they were shit. That was Donegal. I mean, nothing against the Irish here, okay, but it wasn't Harris tweed, you know.
Wasn't as good. I thought it was quite
You what?
good. It was a three-piece suit, wasn't it?
Yeah. I've still got it.
Yeah.
I've got a follow-up to it as well. It's like, you know, tweed-piece suit too.
Peter Freitas used to draw in a suit. Do you remember that? He had that blue suit, and he used to he'd come off the stage, and it'd be like
Absolutely
soaking wet, as though someone poured water all over him. It was just mad.
Why did he do that?
I don't know. And he never smelt a sweat, though, did he?
No, he didn't. Was it okay? Pete de Freitas, he'd walk around naked.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd ever experienced anybody walking around naked before in my life.
No. He was a very confident chap, wasn't
He could just, you know, if Pete de Freitas was here tonight, he'd walk in here naked and he'd be sitting in the middle.
he? No, he used to just walk around the flat with nothing on, and there'd be like girlfriends around or women floating about. He didn't give a monkeys.
No.
No, he was just a very confident chap. He had a six-pack, didn't he?
Yeah, and that was before we'd even heard of six-packs.
Yeah.
I was just looking at him thinking, what the fuck's that on his, what's all these ripples on his stomach for?
Yeah, it's very, yeah.
So anyway, back to household chores. You switching off your mic now?
Yeah.
Do your daughters do chores or not? Is it
Not
them?
enough.
Not enough.
They do some, but, you know, they're not bad. They'll have a go.
See, I feel cheated also because now stairs are hoovered, and you can't get down. Do you hoover your stairs?
Yeah.
See, and I put off hoovering the stairs, but I know if I had one of those brushes in a pan, I would still do the brushing all the way down.
Yeah, well, it's a special brush, isn't it? It's like very
Yeah,
stiff.
absolutely.
It's not like them things for just the dust on the floor or whatever.
No.
It's a proper stair brush.
So anyway, back to your new book.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to be talking about. Was it hard to get done?
No, it wasn't actually. But at the very beginning, I got a bit like, is this as good as the other one? And I started like doubting it a little bit, and then I just kept going, and then it sort of I got into it and it got better, and then I went back to the beginning and changed a few things and fixed it up a bit, you know, and it sort of, no, by the end of it I was quite happy with it. And I've just done the audio book, you know, a couple of weeks ago.
How long did that take?
God, well, it's 9 hours of chat, you know, so it's kind of, I don't know how long it took a long time.
Was there anybody else when you were recording
Yeah, I
that?
was with an engineer, you know.
So he could tell you do that again
Yeah.
or whatever and edit the bits together
Yeah.
and all that kind
Yeah,
of
he was
stuff.
really good. He kind of kept me on track, and if it was getting a bit dull, he'd sort of say, "Oh, you're going a bit flat there." I'd perk up a bit and pretend I was interested again.
And did you do that at your place or did you go to some?
It was the next village over. It's just really handy. So just went there.
And did he do the first book with you?
No, the first one was in the lockdown, so I had to do it. I had my computer in my little studio, and I was connected to a studio in London, and I was recording it on my thing, but they could hear me, so they were like, kind of, if I messed it up, which you do all the time, it's you know, I'm no actor kind of thing, you know, so you're making fluffs of the words all the time, all the way through it. and they had edited it or made notes and then edited it. But this one, he was editing it as we went along. It was good. It seemed to. I think it was a bit quicker, this one, than the first one.
And is that out now as well, or do they hold that
Yeah,
back?
that's out. Yeah. Oh yeah.
And was the pressure on you to get the new one out as fast as, you know, I couldn't believe it. When you told me it's fucking coming out, you know.
Well, I don't know. It didn't take that long. You know.
Do you set yourself the amount of words a day to do?
No, I don't do that, but if I'm doing it, I do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll do some every day, but I don't worry about if I've done 1,000 words or 3,000 words, you know.
And do you start at 9 o'clock, or do you just...
No, not 9 o'clock. I do start in the morning. I prefer working daytime, you know, when it's light. I hate the dark nights. I can't, you know, I don't like them. I've got that sad thing, you know.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, it's really gets me down. I've got one of them special lights,
Yeah.
but I always forget about it.
Do you get that in the winter?
Yeah.
I go
I don't know how
totally.
many people live in like Norway and places like that where it's dark all the time.
Christ.
Yeah.
We're going dark now, aren't we? We're
Yeah,
going down.
lighten it up a bit, Bill. Come on, tell a few jokes, do a dance.
Okay, we're gonna be doing the choreographed dancing in Act 3 of this play, which I hope will be at some point next year or the year after. Did you feel in writing it was the things that are the things that you've now remembered that should have gone in?
Yeah, there was one thing actually.
You know, what was that then?
It was
Because they'll all read the book. They won't.
well, it was, you know, it's a bit embarrassing to talk about, really. It's all right when you write it down,
Yeah. Okay. All right.
but it involved a woman, and I like sort of copped off with this girl in America, and thought I was in love. I was only a kid, and then when I went back to see her, it turned out she was a big cokehead, and I just thought I'm not having anything to do with that. And,
I remember you on the bus one point. You're totally in love with this, and you're just looking at this picture of this woman all the time and talking about her and how wonderful. Can you remember that?
well,
Was
you do
that?
that sort of thing, don't you, when you're like stupid?
But I was amazed, thinking, "Fucking hell, yeah, that's what it's like to be in love, is it?" And I was looking at you, thinking,
Yeah. Well, anyway, that might have been a different one.
"Okay, all right." Yeah, but I
The
don't
funny
think none of
thing
us,
is-
none of us knew who this woman was. You're always going on about this woman, and I don't think you even mentioned her name. But every day you were talking about her and looking at this picture. You can't remember, can you?
No. I don't. Well, I might have done that because it was a divvy. You know what I mean? Like, you lose all sense of everything. And yeah. So anyway, when I went over there and I found out she was big into coke, I thought, you know, no thanks. And but the mad thing is, I started hanging around with a coke dealer. And I was in San Francisco for 3 weeks with this coke dealer. Just, you know, I'd be in the hotel and then I'd phone him up and say, "All right, Richard, what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm going here and I'm going there." And I'd go with him to all these clubs around San Francisco.
Well, you used to be a coke dealer.
Well, I was his...
Protection.
Yeah, I was kind of like, you know... No, I wasn't. I was just... You know, I got on with him. He thought he was all right.
Yeah.
And because I was the only person that he knew in the whole world that didn't want coke off him, we got on. You know, because everybody else was all like arse licking round him after the bugle. You know, so it was kind of... I'd got him, and he was a bit older, and he used to talk about, like, you know, the psychedelic stuff in the 60s, and, you know, they used to have a big jug of acid in the fridge, and every day they'd have this lemonade laced with acid, and it was interesting stories. And
Is this missed out in this book, or is this for the next
well,
book?
this one I should have put in this one, but I forgot about it.
Well,
But it would have been. I could have got quite a few chapters out of that one, I reckon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we would go around all these clubs in San Francisco, and you know, he'd just be, yes, sir, come in. You know, it was like there was never any. He was just known as the bloke. You know. Didn't have to pay to get into any of them.
And when was this? I
It would
can't,
have been about 82.
you used to hate going to America, though. That's what you told me.
Yeah, well I did, but I got it. Like, it was more the sort of chummy atmosphere and the kind of like, hey, have a nice day and all that crap. And getting egg and bacon for your breakfast, it was too complicated. Having your eggs over easy, you know, you know what I mean? And when they did come, they were never like, you made them at home. They were always still a bit white and runny in the middle, weren't they?
Yeah.
I don't know how they managed that. That was.
Were we going to Duke's in this book? I can't remember now. Were we going to Duke's?
Yeah, because that was right next door to
The Tropicana.
Yeah.
So we used to stay at this place called the Tropicana in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And who was living there?
Iggy Pop was there, I think, or had lived there, and also Tom Waits.
Was he living there when we were staying there?
No, he'd moved. But the legend has it that the swimming pool was so dirty that they painted it black so you couldn't see the dirt. You know, the tiles on the inside.
But it's no longer there, is it?
No, it's all been.
It's a fantastic. It was
really kitschy.
It was the ultimate. Exactly what you'd want from a kind of a rock and roll, faded, all of that, and then underneath. You go to the front door and round the side was Duke's, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we'd go there for our breakfast. And I've always had these fantasies of going back there, but it's gone, hasn't it?
Duke's?
Yeah. Or it's moved or something.
Yeah, I think Duke's is. I think that has gone. I'm not sure. There's Ben Frank's as well. We used to go there.
I can't remember that.
And Mel's, obviously, from American Graffiti. It was all about the diners, wasn't it? It was all, it was like so exciting to go to the diners.
So did you cover that in this book? I'm sorry, even though I've just read it 2 weeks ago, my memory's so fucked. Did you cover us driving down from San Francisco to LA? Can you remember that?
The next sort of step up the ladder, the next rung. And they were like pure luxury compared to the van, because you were just 24 hours in a van. It's kind of torture.
Okay, I think this is in this book, but in this book, I think you mention it, but you don't mention it. I mean, I still have a real guilt hang up about this. The 6-week European tour on a bus.
Well, why?
Why what? Why did you do 6 weeks?
No, why have you got a guilt?
Oh, God. Because I thought, I'll have talked to you about this before. I thought if they crack Europe, the rest of the world will fall in line. And so they all go on this bus for I think you stayed in a hotel 1 day a week, and the rest of the time you're sleeping on the
and it was a primitive tour. It wasn't like the tour buses now, or even a few years later. It was basically like a sort of a coach that you might go to school in, with a few beds at the back.
Yeah.
And that sort of weird material on the seats, kind of fairy stuff.
And the record company were always saying, well, why aren't they doing a 6-week tour of the USA? And that was the whole pressure. And I know that I thought, fuck that, And the whole thing that happened was you two went and toured the States, religiously toured the States, cracked the States, and then Europe fell in line. And obviously America didn't give a shit whether you're big in Portugal or not.
No, it's America, innit? You've got to crack America if you want to be, one of them bands. And that's it. But we'd only do 6 weeks, 3 or 4. I think 6 weeks was the maximum that we'd do, and then it was just too much after that. Too many have a nice days. Just, missing you already.
So in this book, it covers the first 2 albums, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's basically what peeped the greatest joy
Yeah.
in, and that giving us like this kind of kick up the arse to be bigger and better and stronger.
And what was the worst? Because you don't cover the worst of things in the book. You kind of give it a positive vibe, which I'm pleased you do.
Well, it was a good time. Like overall, it was a good time, and it was kind of, there was a lot of friendship going on, and it was kind of felt like, and including the crew and you and everybody else, it was like we were like an invading army or something, you know.
Yeah.
We were solid, and yeah, so it was kind of, it was a good time. But it was like, obviously shitty things went on that we didn't like, you know. And we were always arguing with the record company and that about what single to put out, or, you know, covers and stupid things that really got on your nerves, like the size of a font. And you'd be moaning about it, and I'd go away with like my stomach would be churning, like.
Your stomach would be churning.
Yeah, you know, like with hatred for this particular font, or like the colour of the font or something.
Okay. I mean, I still get like that now about things. Shine So Hard. The Shine So Hard EP, I think, is one of the most perfect covers ever.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, that's great. That's great.
And you see, you said in this book that the record company thought it was shit, and I can't remember the record company. I just thought that was fantastic.
No, they didn't like Back of Love. Rob Dickens did not like Back of Love. And we did it, and it was like kind of slow, and then we speeded it up to 145 BPM, which is dead fast for a record, you know, a pop record. So, and it sort of just, we loved it. You know, you didn't like it. You didn't like it, and then you came back the next day, and we'd remixed it, or somebody mixed it or something, and you liked it then. And but Rob Dickens at the label, he didn't like it. But it was like that with everything. It's too many people to please. That's, you know, that's why I think record labels prefer singers on their own, or single
That's the modern
artists.
world, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just too many people to please, and everybody's got like their own idea of what it should be like. But generally, we worked together in them days.
Yeah,
you know.
absolutely. Okay, I have to admit, you know, Will was the most difficult member of Echo and the Bunnymen, and the one that I was most scared of, and the one that thinking, well, what the fuck's Will gonna think? And it was a real position of power. But I also know if Will hadn't have been like that, they wouldn't have been the band they were. You know, it really needed Will's. I mean, I can't say it's a negative attitude, because there was underlying it. You knew there was a truth there, and honesty there. He would confront the things that needed confronting. Is it okay me saying these things, Will?
No, I like it. It's true. Like, you know, it's I was like, I wasn't just being awkward for the sake of being awkward or thinking things were shit because I just wanted to say it. It was because I thought they were wrong.
Yeah. And some of the time, Will was, no, he wasn't wrong. He was never wrong.
No, I was wrong sometimes, but
They're actually, in the third act of this play, we'll come to the bit where so I'm not even going to go there, other than saying it's the most extreme bit of fuck, what's Will going to think? The first album, can we talk about the negative sides of the first album?
yeah.
Okay, the sound of the first album, what I wouldn't give. Okay, there's another thing before I even get there, and I've talked with Will about this. We did, they did demos of quite a few of the tracks in Cargo Studios up in Rochdale, and I don't think those tapes exist, or have you tracked them down?
They used to rub them off, didn't they?
Yeah, and in my head, they are better than what actually came out in Crocodiles. That was the thing that should have been done, and we used that at Rochdale. It's Tony Wilson from Factory told me about that place, and we went up there, worked with the engineer that had been doing what's it called?
Joy Division.
Joy Division. And that wasn't me going through laughter, that was genuinely me forgetting their name. And they got a real bottom end to the tracks. Now, for me, Crocodiles doesn't have a proper bottom end to it.
Yeah, but a lot of that was Les though. Les likes his guitar, his bass, kind of trebly and pingy, you know.
Yeah, but we should have all...
Yeah, but we didn't know. I didn't know. I didn't know, like, that you need a good bass end. We could have put like a big bass pedals thing on it or something, or synths or something, and had the ping of the top end of Les's bass. But
do the multi-tracks still exist?
Of that one, probably, yeah.
You what?
Of Crocodiles, I probably do, yeah. They didn't, at that stage, they weren't just recycling.
No. Maybe it should be remixed.
Well, you'd have to, you know.
Okay, so that's Crocodiles. So on the Heaven Up Here, I was supposed to be going down with the Bunnymen to do it with Hugh Jones, who'd worked as the engineer on the first album, and then things got complicated in my life, and the day before I bottled out, and I thought I remember phoning up Hugh Jones, saying, "Look, I'm not coming down, Hugh. You're going to have to be the producer." Now, I don't think he'd been a producer. Was that the first record he'd done?
I don't know. I think he'd been around for a while. He was kind of a hippie, wasn't he?
Yeah, but he was angry with me that because he said, "Well, what if they don't? What if they just stay in the house and don't come down after breakfast and all of these kind of things?"
Right. Yeah. That's the job of a producer, is not only to make the record, but you've got to bring it in on budget, and you've got to like make sure everybody does everything in the right order, and it's a fucking nightmare. head in cats or whatever.
I'm getting the best out of you.
Yeah.
And so when that album came back, I was just thinking, oh fuck, what's it going to be like? And I've gone from thinking that, not shit, but there was. But then I can go into thinking, this is fucking brilliant, this record, and but it's all complicated, but it's got more bottom end than the first one. It's got more of a breadth of sound.
Yeah. Like, I think overall, a bit more bottom end would be good on all the albums, really, on the early ones. But it was kind of, everybody wanted to be heard. It was all about being heard, my guitar bits, I wanted them to be heard, and Les wanted his bass to be heard, so you had like this thinnish sound pinging it out,
And do you ever think about, like I was saying, I wish those tracks from Rochdale, from Cargo still existed.
You keep going on about this.
I know, go on about it for... Yeah, I mean, it's I have
I can't
issues.
remember them, and I'm glad I can't remember them, because I'd hate to be tortured like that, thinking we should have put that out or something. They'd never gone for that. They were probably a bit scabby around the edges.
Yeah, but that's what made them okay. They're not out there anyway. There's no pirate copies of the Cargo version of Crocodiles out there, is there?
Probably is somewhere, but I would have thought we'd all have had cassettes of it.
What?
We would have all had cassettes, wouldn't we? Well, where are they? I think it's in your mind, Bill. I think we did simple stuff there, and we did. I think we did Villiers Terrace there. I can't remember much else.
The whole album.
Where's the cassettes? Prove it.
I threw all my cassettes away. I threw everything away. Do you keep your cassettes?
Yeah. Well, I've got about 50 billion of them, so I'll have to root through them. But I don't think I've got any from Cargo. I've got some from Amazon. But I've still got loads of cassettes.
Okay,
I haven't even thrown my CDs away yet.
you haven't thrown your CDs away?
No.
What's the point of keeping
I think they're
CDs?
going to come back.
What for?
Well, people will start collecting them again.
Does anybody collect CDs here? There is no point to collecting CDs. Mind you, I got rid of all my vinyl when CDs came along, so...
That was a bad move.
Whoa. Is this the wrong place to say be anti-vinyl? I'm fucking against vinyl. Vinyl was the worst. I'm just making this up to annoy you.
Have you run out of questions?
You got to ask me a question now.
Oh God. Why have you got paint all over your boots? You've been down Birmingham again?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to explain what you do down in Birmingham?
No, I don't. But I'm not allowed to wear them in the house. Okay, do you
They're
take
nice boots as well. Or are they? Carrymores.
I don't know what they are. Do you know what triggers are?
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody know what triggers are here?
Yeah.
So somebody says yes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Are you from Northampton?
Quality footwear.
I work there.
You work at Triggers?
I worked in Northampton.
Okay, cool. All right, anybody who doesn't know, Triggers are the best shoemakers in the country. And are we being sponsored by Triggers here?
No, I like Cheenies. Don't like Cheenies.
No. Tell me why you think Cheenies are good.
They're just a quality boot, you know.
Okay. Maybe I'll have to rethink that.
Well, they're from Northampton as well.
Oh, I know. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
I'm Lokes. I'm Lokes from there.
Yeah. Okay.
But I wouldn't treat them like that.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about these though. You know.
I can tell that.
I'm not allowed to wear shoes in our house. Do you wear your shoes in the house?
Yeah. We've only got hard floors.
I used to sleep with my shoes on, but then I've been in this relationship for 18 years now, I think, that I'm in, and I had never come across a culture where you have to take your shoes off before you go in the house, and this was a whole part of this culture that I suddenly entered, so I have to keep my shoes hidden, and so
I can't do anything unless I've got my shoes on.
yeah, but I've learned now to.
Oh no, I couldn't.
I
deal with
just
that.
automatically take them off, even when
Even
it came.
slippers, I don't like. Yeah, it's like when I get up in the morning. If I don't put my shoes on, the whole day is ruined. No, it is. I'm not even joking. It's like I can't seem to get anything done, or you know, I've got to put my shoes on, even if I'm just pottering around, you know, making a lasagna or something.
When was the last time you made a lasagna?
A few months back.
Oh, we made one yesterday.
Oh, well, yeah. You would, wouldn't you?
Okay, I'm gonna ask that person there.
Me?
Yeah, you got a question to ask him.
Come on, Jamie.
Okay. Bill, because you haven't heard the audio version, what do you think of Will doing an impression of your voice?
What?
He's done an AI version of you. Yeah.
Well, you know, a generic Scottish kind of. Aye, you know. And you would get grief for doing that.
You did quite a few voices on this one.
Jane Casey was quite a good one.
Yeah.
Did you do Mac?
Fucking joking, aren't you?
Hang on, that triggered something.
Okay.
You were asking then. Oh, I know what it is. In the book, has it got the? Did you take the photograph? Because reading this book, I'm going. I never fucking went to Australia. Turn the next page. There's a photograph of me in Australia.
Yeah.
And
I might have been New Zealand, I don't know, but I seem to remember you being there.
yeah, I mean, once I'd seen the photograph, and how can you forget having gone to Australia? And then I saw the photograph and it bit by bit came in. And then there's another bit where you're talking about when going down Italy, and we get to the south of Italy, and you're doing this gig with, you'd done a gig for the Marxists or something up the north.
Yeah.
And then down south, you tell me.
We weren't sure whether it was the mafia or the fascists, but we didn't really inquire too much. And some bloke turns up in a suit. He had like a little black badge on, and everyone's going, "That's a fascist badge." That's fascist. Like shit. But it was in a football stadium. Well, I'd say stadium. It was like a tiny club, you know. Like it was just like a dusty. There was no grass. It was just dust. And they built this stage at one end of the football pitch, all wood. It's like quite a involved kind of thing. And there was no power, so we turned up. We were in an Arctic. We had an Arctic and a bus, and we had all our PA in it and everything. And the stage is this, you know, at the end of the thing. There's no electricity anywhere. It's like, well, you have to use this thing called three-phase power. It's like you wire it all into the kind of like the grid of the building or whatever, you know. It's like proper. It's not just like a 13 amp plug, and because it'd blow up. And so they were like, "What? Oh, don't you bring your electricity with you?" Only, you know, in an Italian accent. I'm not doing that.
Do you do Italian accents
No,
in the
I'm not doing
audience?
that. And oh God, well, he said, well, the only power we've got is at the other end of the football pitch. And it was one little plug hole in the toilets. And so we pushed the stage. Do you remember pushing the stage?
Yeah, we all pushed the stage.
We pushed the stage from one end of the football pitch to the other. And it was all creaking and looking like it was going to break. And it was like, I've got film of it, actually, because Bill Butt filmed it. I've got some outtakes that he sent me. And we're shoving this thing. See Mac walking off like, you know, I'm not fucking doing that. You know, we knew that even if we got it to the other end of the pitch, we wouldn't be able to do the gig. So we had a tour manager then, didn't we? What was his name? Oh God.
Wasn't it Harry DeMac still?
No,
there?
Harry DeMac was doing the sound.
Oh yeah, the guy.
What's his name? Martin, was it?
Yeah.
Anyway, he's come round to us and said, "We're getting in the bus and we're going to fuck off." And it's like, by this time, like they'd sold loads of tickets and they'd opened the gates and all people, all like, you know, these Italian kids are coming in and they're all like, there's nothing set up or anything. And Bill Butt and this lad Martin Atkins, who did he did like the design and that, you know, for all the covers and everything. He he did all the graphics and all that sort of side of it. Like Brian Griffin did the photos, and they were on a motorbike, so they had to sort of run the gauntlet of all these kids, and we just got in the bus and kind of opened the gates and kind of edged our way through all the crowd. They're all coming in and we're going out, and it was pretty sort of full on, you know. They were throwing stuff at Martin on his bike and
absolutely.
running after the bus, and it was a bit crazy.
And
obviously they'd sold all these tickets and nobody had got the money back, no chance. I know every time we went to Italy, I don't want to do down Italy, but it was like you had to bribe your way across it, really. You know, it was always like the police stopping the bus, coming on the bus, and then you have to give them some t-shirts or ciggies, you know, just the normal thing then.
Yeah, absolutely.
And borders, you know, if you wanted to get through the border, you had to give them a few t-shirts or a couple of cassettes or something.
And to bring it back to me, there's a photograph, I think, in your book, or maybe you tweeted it, of me with a striped shirt on.
Yeah.
That's in that place, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, the football ground.
Okay,
yeah.
so that, you see, when I saw that photograph, so there's a photograph of me with a striped Breton top on, which I'd bought in, and it triggers, I hope you don't mind, this is about me, this bit, okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Fill your boots.
This Breton top, I myself and my then wife, we had a holiday in Brittany in the first week of August 1977. I think it's the first week. And I bought this Breton top. You couldn't get them in the UK. And I'm on the beach, and then I see somebody's newspaper, and it says Elvis Mort. And I'm thinking, fuck, Elvis has died. And I'm looking at my straight top, and somehow I think this Breton top is either the reason why Elvis has died, and I couldn't quite work it out. And then when I got back to Liverpool, the band I was in at the time called Big in Japan, our manager, Roger Eagle, had made them go into the studio to record our first single without me. And I just thought, fucking hell, Elvis has died and the band have gone in and they've done this shit version, you know, and I still haven't, you know, it's not as big a problem as Crocodiles for me, but it's still a major problem. And I somehow put it down to this Breton top. And then when I'm turning the pages and I could see I was still wearing it then. And I was thinking, when I looked at it, I think, is that the reason why there's no bottom end on the first album? It was that.
Could be.
And I remember at some point I put it in the dustbin and it wasn't worn out. And I've never thrown away an article of clothing before in my life that other than when it's completely fucked. Other than this Breton top, because it killed Elvis. Anyway, you weren't expecting that.
When I put that picture up on Twitter, everybody started going on about Marcel Marceau.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not, you know, not. I remember when Elvis died as well. I was at Eric's. Trying to think who was on. So it was 77, wasn't it?
Yeah, August 77.
Yeah.
I think.
So
Does anybody know the date Elvis died without fucking looking up Wikipedia?
16th of August.
Yeah.
I can't. Well, if you look at who was on at Eric's, that's when. Because I remember the band. I don't know where it was. Who was it? What's next XTC?
You liked XTC,
No,
didn't
not
you?
really. No.
I thought you said something good about them in the book.
No, I went to see them. That was the first band I ever saw at Eric's.
Okay, that was it. Because
Yeah.
I didn't. I mean, sorry if you're XT or any, you know.
Well, you know, I don't mind. I've got a couple of records by them, but you know, I'm not that fussed. They're a bit too fancy.
Too many chords.
Yeah.
Okay.
I quite like Dukes of Stratosphere. That's like their kind of like psychedelic offshoot band. Have you ever heard them?
No.
It's really good. It's like that sort of English whimsy kind of psychedelia, you know.
But not Baroque pop.
No,
it's not
66,
Baroque pop, it's more
67,
like-
68.
Yeah, it's more like I don't know, you know, My Friend Jack Eats Sugar Lumps or something like that. You know, the smoke, that sort of thing. You know.
All right, I'm going to ask another question here. Can you tell me what the time is, please? Okay, all right.
Ask a few quick ones.
Yeah, okay. You there, ask a question. Yeah, you.
Were you wearing your shoes when you wrote the book?
Oh, every time. Yeah, definitely. I couldn't. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. I wouldn't have been able to concentrate, even though I'm in the comfort of my own little, you know, room, whatever. I'd still have to have my shoes on.
Okay.
And big boots generally, like walking boots like that or something, you know.
Okay, you there, can you ask a question, please? Yeah, you.
Swing your pants or swing your hips?
What did he say?
I don't know.
Say it louder.
Swing your pants or swing your hips?
Swing your
He's
pants or
on
swing
Black
your...
Bombers or something over there. Yeah.
What does that mean? Swing your pants or swing your hips?
It's just because he's got dead white pants on. He's trying to be
Okay, all right.
pantish.
Okay.
It's a fancy go.
You, with the mask on.
Two questions. One for you.
Yeah.
Have you got the Araldite? And one for Will, which is when you did sweeping of stairs, did you have those brass corners that stop the dust jamming?
The what? When I did
Brass little corners that stop the dust getting where the brush can't get in.
You used to have brass
Brass
things on your
corners
carpet,
on the
didn't you?
stairs to stop the dust.
yeah, rods.
Yeah.
Carpet rods.
Little corner, little brass fittings.
Yeah,
in
in
the
my
corner.
dad's house they had them, yeah.
Nah.
Yeah, but I haven't got them.
See, I was actually trying to explain to my youngest son last week in Buxton. I was in
Oh, yeah,
Buxton
you
last
showed me
week.
a
Did I
picture,
tell you
yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah.
And I was trying to tell him we were staying in this hotel, the Palace Hotel.
Yeah.
Did we stay in the Palace
Yeah,
Hotel?
yeah.
And they got fitted carpets everywhere, and I was trying to explain to him they didn't used to have fitted carpets, and especially downstairs, it would just one strip all the way down. You'd have the wood at either side, and I was explaining the whole thing, and he was just going, "Dad, just shut up, Dad. I don't need to know about how they used to do." Anyway,
Well, you know, you've got to know, you've got to remember the past, or you're going to repeat it, or something somebody said once. It's probably hip now, actually, to have them carpet rods. In fact, I think I've seen it in one of them interiors magazines. It's kind of a new thing.
hang on. So you get interiors magazines? You've
Mine too.
revealed some- Is anybody going to ask a question about birds in here? Anybody?
Not about birds, but about the Bunnymen, if that's all right.
Okay,
Go on.
Ask a question about the Bunnymen then.
So I came here 2 years ago. It's fascinating to hear your early life and all that, and now I've got...
Go louder.
Yeah. Sorry.
Need a
I'm
microphone, really.
I'm really looking forward to hearing about the sort of when the Bunnymen kicked off and took off.
Yeah.
So when did you think or realise you kind of made it? I know you all...
It was not really like that. It was not like I was trying to make it. It was kind of. But I'll tell you one thing that I did really like when we played the Whiskey Go Go in Los Angeles, because that was, you know, the home of the Doors. They were the house band there. And I was a massive Doors fan.
Okay, tell them that whole thing, Mac on the floor.
Oh yeah, so Ray Mandrake turns up and knocks on the door and comes in. Hey, you know. Hey, I'm Ray, you know, and Mac's just lying on the floor. He goes down to like shake his hand, and he's like lying on the floor. He washed his hair, he had a towel around his head, and he was on the floor, just sort of, I think it helped with the, you know, the gravity defying kind of thing. And he goes, "Oh, Will likes you lot, he's over there." And it was like, rude, rude, you know. So he came over to talk to me, and I gave him a beer and that, and then sort of just waddled off, you know, after a bit. But it was kind of a bit disrespectful.
But yeah,
But later on, you know, Matt started to like they didn't like that. None of them liked the Doors when we started. The Doors were the band that I liked, and I used to play because, you know, make cassettes and play them in the van and everything. And they nobody liked them because it was like. Everybody was a punk, really, so it was kind of like they were old school and a bit seen as a bit, you know, mainstream or rock and roll or something, you know, that was like you couldn't like them. You know, like the way you couldn't like loads of things like Led Zeppelin or whatever, you know. And yeah, so it was just a bit weird, and you know, but I played them so much in the van that I think they did start to like them, and even Mac liked them in the end, you know. When we did Zimbo, I was doing it for that LP grind, and I was just messing around. I had like a 4-track tape recorder thing, and I was making this, you know, that sort of 2-note thing that was on Zimbo. And they all came into the rehearsals, and he said, "Oh, what's that?" I said, "Oh, it's just this thing I'm doing for Bill Butt." And he said, "Oh yeah, it's good that." And I said, "Well, I'll throw it into the Bunnymen part." And then we worked on it, and Pete came up with that amazing drum beat and everything. Not at first of all, it was just kind of normal drumming, and after a while he came up with that sort of rumbly tom-tom thing. And I don't know where I was going with that.
you were getting to Robert Plant.
Was I?
No, but I want you to tell him about Robert Plant. And Robert Plant's been kicked out by his missus.
Oh yeah. Yeah, but it sounds like I'm all like, oh, I'm me and Robert Plant and me and Ginger Baker and me, and you know, it wasn't really like that. They were just in this.
No,
they were
but-
just hanging around.
But you're the one that mentioned Led Zeppelin, and you were the only one that was into Led
Oh, yeah,
Zeppelin.
yeah,
And,
well-
and okay, carry on.
Well, yeah, Zimbo. When we when Mac was working out lyrics and things like that, he was singing Jimbo, and that became Zimbo. And he was going Jimbo, Jimbo, and it was like a little sort of, kind of like a little in-joke for himself about Jim Morrison, I think. I'm pretty sure that's right. But it became Zimbo because he couldn't say Jimbo, and it sort of took on its own kind of life. Well, that was a boring story.
No, I obviously I remember it as being Jimbo.
Yeah.
You know, and just think, what the fuck's this? Where, you know. But that's at the time. I remember thinking that, well, this is the best one. This is the best one so far. I think.
It was, yeah. They all had the moments, didn't they? You know.
Okay, there's going to be 3 more questions, and you there are going to ask one of them. No, yeah, you with a hat on.
Me?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to LA next Thursday. What are some of your favourite places there?
In Los Angeles, the Frolic Room. It's a 1930s bar I think it's on Sunset Strip. And it's like, you know, they all used to hang out there. You know, all the sort of Hollywood 30s people and all that. It's been going for donkey's years. It's just like a tiny little bar, Frolic Room. It's good. It's a bit of history.
You.
So many good riffs on the first 2 albums, which would be, have you got favourites?
Favourite?
On Heaven Up Here and Crocodiles.
Riffs.
Yeah, your riffs, man. They're brilliant.
Riffs. What's a riff?
I would, well, to me it'd be A Promise. That's just,
Oh, right, well,
man.
I promise. We were. Les came up with that bass thing first. I think he was trying to do a bit of a hooky, you know, and it's only 2 notes, you know, but the bass is, you know, up and down the dusty end and everything. Yeah, that's a good one. I like the sort of hypnotic, repetitive kind of thing of it, you know. It's kind of I like trancey things, you know, repetition and all that. You know, you can just sort of zone out on it. You like a bit of trance thing.
Okay, what's your? This isn't the 3rd question. I'm just asking. So, what's your favourite riff on those 2 albums? And it's not Rescue, by the way. You can't say Rescue.
Well, he just said, promise.
Promise would be one of them.
Yeah, but I'm trying to get more.
I promise I like them as a whole album. It's a cop-out answer, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like both of them. I like the whole album. Heaven Up Here particularly is like
Yeah.
amazing as a whole, sweet music.
Yeah, so it's, you know, it's.
And like you say, what I love about the Bunnymen is what you're playing is sort of simple, and I don't mean that as a
Yeah,
disrespect.
no, that's.
And yet it sounds like we're all together. It sounds like the Heaven Up Here, the interplay on Heaven Up Here is like incredible.
Yeah, it is simple. All my stuff that I ever played is simple because I'm not a brilliant guitarist that can do all that fancy shit. So it's always dead simple. But it's just the choice of notes, isn't it? You know, it's all about the choice of notes and where you put them and how you play them. And it's just a lot of it's quite instinctive. And I'll do something like, you know, sort of at the spur of a moment, and then think, shit, what did I just do then? That sounded good. And I'll have to try and backtrack what I've done or something, you know. Try and think, you know, kind of work it out. That's what happened with like Killing Moon, the beginning of Killing Moon. I did that sort of down, that thing. That was like just a sort of, we were just tuning up really and like just checking our instruments were working. And I just did that. And then we went for a curry for our tea. We were in Bath and came back and the producer, Geezer, had copied it and kind of, before samplers, so he'd had to put it onto a 1/4-inch tape and then fired it back onto the 24-inch and like with the timing being perfect, you know. which is, it's quite difficult to do. And we all liked it and thought, oh, that's pretty wacky, interesting. It was just like something, a throwaway thing that wasn't even meant to be a thing. And then I had to learn it because I didn't know what I'd done. So I don't even know whether I'm doing it right now. It was just like, yeah, that sounds all right. Guitar's working, That's the loads of it is like that, It's kind of the best stuff. And I'll always like go through things and I'll do something early on. And luckily now you can record everything, so you can go back to it, And Mac always picks them up, oh, that thing you did at the beginning was the best bit, and you go back and yeah, it was, So it's weird. It's always like the first things you think of is almost like the best, always the best. Yeah. You start refining it too much, it loses something along the way,
Okay, one more question. You that's looking the other way.
Me?
Yeah, you.
I was looking the other way because I don't have a question. So
Well,
can I
yeah,
donate
he's got
it to
one.
somebody?
He's got one, look.
Yeah, I'll donate it.
Will, you mentioned Eric's earlier.
Yeah.
And I'm a scouser, as you can probably tell. What do you think of like the Liverpool music scene now, and your mix of Eric's and Matthew Street and all the kind of post-punk scene then? And what's it like now for you?
Well, I think there's some good bands in Liverpool now. There is like a bit of a thing going on. But I don't know whether there's like a focus like Eric's, where, everybody in Eric's was in a band.
We were lucky to have Eric's.
Yeah. I think they had like a thing going a few years back, didn't they, called the Bandwagon. There was a lot of bands came out of that. That place in Birkenhead called Future Yard, that's got a bit of a thing going on. But it's also like, because I don't live there in Liverpool and I'm not going out in Liverpool to see bands. The last band I went to see was House of All, like the lads at the Fall. And that was because I was DJing, but I would have gone anyway because, I was made up when they asked me to do it. You seen that, Bill? No. They're good? Yeah. So I don't really know what's going on too much in Liverpool, I know there's a band called Quayside, and they've just been signed to something, and I've heard of them. I don't really know what they're about, but there's a lad called Robert Murphy. He's quite good. I like his single. But no, it's not the same, is it? But I'm 65 now, so I'm not like in that world anymore. You'd be considered a bit of a nut job, wouldn't you, if you were like hanging around with a load of 17-year-olds and your music's great. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to finish by saying that I think the Bunnymen, for me then, the Bunnymen, I would have never said it to them at the time, I don't think I said it, were the greatest band possible. I mean, obviously, there's all the bigs and the Doors or Velvet Underground or the Beatles or this, all of, but for me, the Bunnymen absolutely defined what a band should be. 4 guys out against the world, all equal members, all with this kind of mission, even if you couldn't say what the mission was, but there was something there, and there was no compromising it, even if at times I can be guilty of attempting to get them to compromise, but Will made sure on the whole that didn't happen. But there was a total greatness, and I'll be forever grateful that I was there at
You'll be crying in a minute, Bill.
I don't fucking cry.
No, I will be.
You'll be crying.
Yeah.
And I think I should leave it at that. Thank you very much for coming. I take it most of you had to buy the book anyway, so there's no point in me saying go and buy the book. It's brilliant. It goes in obviously a different direction to the first book, and I very much look forward to the next one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The bingo starts in 25 minutes.